Oh, hello, hello. This is Ivana Tor here for another episode of the Thriving Idealist. So glad that you could join me today. Today I'm thinking about courage and what courage looks like. Um, a lot of times people are like, don't be afraid, don't be scared. Uh, and and I'm always like, for me, I'm always trying to figure out like how do you break something down to its elements so that you can know how to embody it, right? Or live it. So, I love this quote. There's a quote by, I think it was Maya Angelou, who says that courage is like the most important value of all. And, here, the Thriving Idealists, we're all about values and virtues and living them and finding ways to embody them. And I love courage because with courage, when you know how to embody courage, when you know how to live this value of courage, it kind of affects all the other values, right? So when we talk about courage, that feeling, that sense of bravery, but when you think about the root of the word courage, it's cur, it's the heart. And so it's, being able to show up with an open heart, right? And it's very scary to show up with an open heart, right? Because you can get hurt, right? Someone can stab you in your heart and someone can break your heart. Lots of things happen to our hearts, like, when we're open and vulnerable. And so it makes sense for a lot of us to protect our hearts and put the armor on. But in the wholehearted space, the space that we're all in as idealists who want to do good in the world, who want to make a difference in the world, according to the research, we can't go into the arena with the armor on, with guarding and protecting our hearts. We have to go into the arena, the things that we want to do, where we want to show up and be brave. We have to do that with an open heart, which is terrifying, right? It feels cringe. And so being able to show up to any arena, the things that are important to us, whether it's asking the guy out or asking for the raise or writing the proposal or, asking for what you need. You have a partner who's not really helping out and you want more help with the kids, or maybe it's going on the apps, the dating apps. Whatever it is, where, whether it's asking for the raise, whatever it is that you want to do that feels a little like scary, to be able to go in without protecting your heart, without guarding your heart, is terrifying. But we want to be able to show up with an open heart, because when we show up with an open heart, that vulnerability is how we connect, and it's where everything we want lives, right? Pleasure, connection, creativity, curiosity, impact. All of the things that we want require that we expose our hearts. so, so that's what I'm thinking about today, courage. And what does courage look like? So I love the 5 tenets of courage that I learned from the research by Brene Brown. And I talk a lot about Brene Brown's research because I'm certified as a Daring Way and Dare to Lead facilitator. And I'm very geeky about that work. I'm also certified in, like other frameworks of coaching and all of that, positive psychology and unbeatable mind and heroic optimize and all of that. But I always end up circling back to the research from Brene Brown's work because of how robust it is, and all the other frameworks are robust, but something about this, like, it feels very accessible in the things I like to talk about. So with courage, when you think about that word cur, and that it has to do with the heart, how do you show up and be brave when everything's scary, right? How do you face, things that are challenging in life without shutting your heart down, right? To keep it open. So I like to think about the 5 tenets of courage. And I'll list them out and I'll talk through every single one of them. So the first one is asking for what you need. And then the second one is setting boundaries. Um, Third one is telling your story. The fourth one is owning your story. And the fifth one is reaching out for support. If you've heard me talk about anything at all, you know that I believe that the idealists, the givers, the do-gooders, one of the most important skill sets to have is being able to know what you need, to be able to articulate your needs. And one of the fastest ways to shut down a helper or a giver is by asking, like, what do you need? They'll look at you blankly because they're so used to meeting the needs of others. They're so used to caring, taking care of kids, taking care of the husband, taking care of the friends, taking care of everybody, that their needs are usually the last thing that they think about. Right. So I always say that in order to ask for what you need, which is the first tenet of courage, we need to go to number zero, ground zero, which is like actually knowing what you need. And so, what do you need? So when you're thinking about, what courage looks like asking for what you need. And in order to ask for what you need, you have to know what your needs are. So I always tell my people to get a piece of paper and get a pen and write down, what are your needs? Because most times when we're in the thick of it, when we're in the space where we actually really need something, a lot of us, at least for me in the beginning, before I started really doing this work more intensively, for a lot of us, it's very hard to, like, think about what we need, because again, we're so used to thinking about the needs of others. So it's helpful to, when you're in a calm place, when you're not really in any kind of stress or a sense of urgency, to make a list of all the things you need. So whether it's like, do I need a regular hug? Do I need hugs? Do I need sex? Do I need time in nature? Do I need to meditate? Do I need to journal? Do I need a night out on the town with my girlfriends? Do I need to see a play? One of the things that I found out that I need is I need to be able to see different kinds of things. I live in a beautiful place. San Diego is like perfect. Like we talk about perfection, and beaches and palm trees, and it's like paradise. And for me, because of the kind of background I come from, where I've lived all over the world, I need to be able to see different kinds of things to feel okay. So sometimes I might be feeling blah and go like, well, I think I need to see different kinds of things. So I'll just take a quick day trip, a road trip to LA, and just driving, being able to see the change in terrain, seeing the graffiti on the walls, seeing people on the streets, seeing different kinds of people, different kinds of buildings, and even the dirt on the floor, and sometimes trash. Like, that brings a sense of peace to me, because I'm seeing things that are different. And for me, that's one of my needs, to be able to see things that are different. So take a moment and put a pen to paper and write down, on a typical day or a typical week, just in your life, what do you need, right? I need to have access to like really good vegan food, whatever it is, right? Being able to write that down, so that when you're in the thick of it, you can just look at your list of, and you're feeling kind of crappy, you can look at your list and go, I think, actually, I probably just really need a hug right now, right? Because when you're in it, if you're like me, when you're in it, you can't think of anything because you're completely flooded by whatever it is that you need. So step zero is making a list of your needs, right? So that, and if you want to cut them up, and put them in a jar, and then, like, if you're feeling kind of crappy, you can just reach in and go, what do I need today? Maybe it's chocolate, or maybe it's, I need to fast, or like, what is it? Putting things that you need to feel okay on a regular basis. And so then number one is asking for what you need. So courage looks like asking for what you need. So being able to look at the person next to you and go, I need a hug, or I need, you know, when you're a giver, it's very hard to receive. And a lot of us have stories around what it means to be helped, right? Or, or what it is to have what you need. And so being able to ask for what you need, and whether it's, you need to go on a date night, or, being able to, it takes vulnerability. It takes you opening your heart to be able to say, I need to talk to you. I need to have a hard conversation with you, or I need to, um, I need more help. Or I need you to respect my boundaries. Like, what do you need? Being able to ask for that from the people around you, whether it's your employer or your spouse or your kids. I need you to do the dishes. I need you to clean your room. All of that. And then, so that's asking for what you need. And then the next one is setting boundaries. And I always like to tell people that, and I will do a talk on values at some point, but if you don't know about boundaries, you can look at my Living Big video, which I posted or will have posted by the time this one comes out. Boundaries, it's hard to set boundaries if you don't know what your values are, what's important to you. So I always say, you know, if you're wanting to like, set boundaries, which we describe as what's okay, what's not okay, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, whether it's with yourself or with others, right? You have to know what's important to you. You have to know what your values are, because that will set the territory where you set up your fence and your gate for your boundaries. So setting boundaries is the second thing, second thing that looks like courage, right? So courage looks like setting boundaries, which can be very scary if you don't, sometimes it's, you don't want to lose the person that you're setting boundaries with, right? You're afraid that you might lose the friendship, or like they'll look at you like you're being bitchy or like demanding or hard to deal with, right? And it takes courage to set boundaries, right? Because you have to show what's in your heart. You'll have to be vulnerable and go like, this is important to me and I need you to respect this, right? And so that takes courage, being able to set those boundaries. And so that's what courage looks like. So whenever you're setting boundaries, instead of going, I'm being a pain in the neck or I'm being a bitch, you can say, I'm being courageous, because that's what courage looks like, setting boundaries. And then another thing that courage looks like is telling your story. So let's say you're going through a hard time, and if you're anything like me, you usually are kind of like, you know focused, hyper focused on the problem, and your nose is to the grindstone, and you don't really like focus on what's around you. You're just kind of focused on like the problem. um Being able to say, "Oh, here's my story, here's what I'm going through," that can be very hard for some of us who just like would just rather just like deal with it by ourselves and swallow it and just deal with it quietly. And so courage looks like being able to go, hey, I'm struggling, or hey, like, oh, this is what I went through, or here's my win. Sometimes sharing your wins and your successes can be hard, right? Because you don't want to seem braggy, or you don't want to seem like bratty. But being able to share that, here's what I'm going through, good, bad, ugly, that takes vulnerability, that takes courage. Again, you're sharing your heart. You're not putting the armor on. I'm not talking about like puffing up. You're not puffing up, right, to be more than you are, and you're not shrinking back to be smaller than you are, right? You're being authentic and standing your sacred ground and going like, here's my story, here's who I am, here's what I'm going through, here's what I've been through. Being able to be that open and vulnerable, um, again, is what courage looks like. And then another way that courage shows up is in, owning your story. So we had like telling your story, but we also have owning your story, owning your ish, like I like to say, being able to say, here's my role in this mess that I just, that just happened, or this, here's my role in this. Being able to take accountability for your actions, and say, I did this. And nowadays it's like everyone's right, but being able to go, I broke this. Right, I made a mistake, I did something, I caused harm here, rather than right fighting, which is so easy to do, especially as a parent, like to be able to apologize to your kids. That's, I didn't grow up with that, so but I do that. I tell my kids, I messed up, or I'm sorry I hurt you, and to take ownership, even though sometimes it's very hard because that's not how I grew up, right? So being able to take ownership of your own stuff, own your story, own where you dropped the ball, own where you made the mistake, own where you betrayed someone, own where you were not accountable or you were out of integrity. Own it, right? Being able to say, I did that, and being able to take accountability and apologize or make amends. And or restore, or refund, or whatever it is, right? Um, Being able to take ownership of where you caused harm or made a mistake or dropped the ball or fell short of your values. So important. And then after that, so you have um asking for what you need, you have setting boundaries, you have telling your story and owning your story. And then last one is like reaching out for support. Reaching out for support. And so that's what courage looks like. And like I said earlier, like for some of us, it's easy to just like be in your own black hole when you're going through stuff. And and it's not really about asking for what you need, which is a need. Support is a need, but reaching out for support takes courage to be able to go like, hey, I'm drowning and I need help, right? And whether it's getting therapy or getting a coach, or asking family members to help you, it takes a certain vulnerability to be able to be open to the support that you're looking for. And so reaching out for support, I always think about uh you know, when there was a moment where I was really struggling, and people were trying to help me, and I was like, yeah, yeah, I got it, but I was still like trying to like support myself because I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to be a pain in the neck, right? But people who are around you love you and care about you, and they want to help, and they want to support you. And so being able to reach out for support and say, yes, you know, I need help, I need somebody to help me, is really critical if you're wanting to live this open-hearted life of courage. And again, courage is required for all the things that we want, you know, the dreams that we're going for, the goals that we're going for, right? You cannot get to any of the dreams or goals without these steps that I just articulated, whether it's asking for what you need or setting boundaries, maybe setting boundaries with yourself and how much time you're spending on the internet or social media, right? That's a boundary. So you can focus on your goal, whether it's asking for what you need in terms of needing supplies, or whether it's, you know, owning your story when you've made a mistake or drop the ball with that project, or whether it's, you know, telling your story, letting people know what's going on with you, if you're running behind and I just need some more time, and then reaching out for support, right? This is what courage looks like. So whenever you're in a situation where you're feeling like, oh, I'm not brave, or oh, I need to be courageous, and you know, it's not just like, you know, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be courageous right now, right? It's like sometimes that's too big. Being able to look at these different parts and go, which one of these tenets of courage can I hold on to and work on, right? For me, one of the things that for me was hardest to do was asking for what I need and also reaching out for support. So whenever I feel like I'm not feeling particularly great brave, I'll sit down and like look at my needs and go, what do I need right now? Sometimes it's just a permission, right? And I'll do a permission slip exercise, which I'll talk about later in another video. But you know, maybe it's just giving myself permission to have fun and do the thing or look stupid, um or have a just be really great. You know, for example, making videos, these videos that you're seeing, like it's taken a long time to have the courage to do these videos. And if I'm breaking down courage, you know, what I needed the most was, you know, being clear about what I needed. I just needed like a structure. I just needed like a button to push and the right app. And so once I found the right app, it was a no-brainer. Now it's just like I just push start and I just go, right? But so I needed things. I need things to be simple enough for me to take action. If it's big and complicated and I don't know anything about it, then it doesn't get done. So for me, asking for what you need is a key access point for me in terms of courage. And then reaching out for support is the other thing. So whether it's internal or external needs, right? Whether it's like something out there or something inside, being able to articulate those needs is important. So that's what courage looks like to me, like being able to like break it down and then like find the access point that I can use to then boost my courage. What about you? Like, when you think about these five tenets of courage, which one do you want to work on? Which one do you feel like if you worked on will really boost your courage in a dramatic way? Let me know in the comments what that is. And I'm really grateful that you showed up today to hang out with me in this um, solo cast of mine, riffing on a topic I care about. But all of this is about helping you as an idealist to thrive as you make your positive impact in the world and to be able to serve sustainably without compassion fatigue or overwhelm or burnout. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you next time. Take care and go be courageous and go cultivate your light. Okay. Bye.